Black Myth. Wukong and Sekiro, Shadows Die Twice, are somewhat similar. They share a love for tough combat, a deep connection to their respective mythologies, and a gameplay loop where dying is just the beginning of the learning process. Yet, despite these similarities, they each have their own distinct flavor. If we were to compare them to food, Sekiro would be a meticulously crafted sushi roll, precise, elegant, and deadly if not handled correctly, while Wukong would be a spicy hot pot, chaotic, unpredictable, and sometimes overwhelming, but always an adventure. Where Sekiro emphasizes precision and discipline, Wukong celebrates creativity and mischief. Both games expect you to fail, learn, and fail some more, but they approach it differently. Sekiro's world is grim, steeped in themes of duty, loss, and resurrection, while Wukong's world feels more like a cosmic playground where the lines between heroism and trickery are often blurred. At their core, these games are about mastery, mastering your enemies, mastering your abilities, and above all, mastering your own frustration when you've died for the umpteenth time to a boss that just refuses to go down. They are the kind of games that make you work for your victories, but the satisfaction of finally conquering that seemingly unbeatable foe is worth every minute, or hour, let's be real, of struggle. So, is Wukong just a Sekiro clone with a monkey mask? Hardly. If Sekiro is your disciplined samurai film, Wukong is your mythological epic, complete with shape-shifting tricksters and monsters straight out of ancient folklore. They share the same foundation but build their stories, mechanics, and worlds in ways that are uniquely their own. And let's be honest, if you're going to die 100 times, wouldn't it be nice to at least have the option to come back as a monkey? Sekiro, as you may recall, is set in a beautifully crafted, blood-soaked version of Sengoku-era Japan, filled with ninjas, samurai, and more gruesome creatures than you'd expect after an afternoon tea party with demons. The world feels grounded, despite the mythical elements, because let's face it, Japan's history is ripe with rich lore, and developers took that and ran with it. On the other hand, Wukong, Black Myth, transports you to an ancient Chinese fantasy world based on the legendary Journey to the West. But instead of a leisurely journey filled with monks, demons, and the occasional pigman sidekick, this version amps up the stakes with jaw-dropping environments, meticulously crafted landscapes, and creatures pulled straight from your worst, or best, depending on how you feel about terrifying creatures' nightmares. Yet, despite these geographical and cultural shifts, both games give you that same feeling, a rich, immersive world where every corner hides something awe-inspiring, potentially lethal, and occasionally soul-crushing. In both cases, you'll find yourself thinking, hey, this world is beautiful, but I really wish these murderous entities would stop trying to introduce my spleen to the outside world. Combat, when blocking feels like winning the lottery. If you ever picked up Sekiro, then you know it's all about posture. No, not the sit up straight or your back will curse you in old age type, but the kind where you and your enemy size each other up like boxers, trying to break each other's balance. Every clash of steel feels like the world's most intense fencing match, and a successful parry is basically the equivalent of finding $20 in your old coat pocket. It's exhilarating, it's precise, and it requires reflexes that most of us left behind in our youth. You don't just hack at enemies like you're chopping wood, you engage in a deadly dance, where one misstep can send you to your doom. Wukong, on the other hand, takes this Sekiro-esque combat and adds a bit of flavor, namely, in the form of a staff-wielding, shape-shifting monkey god. Yes, you read that right. The Monkey King himself, Sun Wukong, is your character. And if you thought swordplay was exciting, wait until you start transforming into various creatures mid-battle to utterly confuse and decimate your enemies. It's like playing Sekiro, but imagine the protagonist could turn into a giant bug to freak out a boss before smashing them into the dirt. It's both familiar and delightfully absurd, kind of like Sekiro after 5 cups of coffee. Both games require a deft hand at combat, demanding precision and careful timing. However, where Sekiro leans heavily on its swordsmanship and parrying mechanics, Wukong allows you a bit more freedom to experiment with different forms, fighting styles, and attacks. It's like choosing between a meticulously choreographed ballet and an improved jazz session, but with swords and mythical creatures. And let's be honest, jazz would be way cooler with swords. Death, the best part of waking up again, death, our constant companion in both Sekiro and Wukong. If Dark Souls taught us anything, it's that dying in video games is no longer a sign of failure, it's just part of the process. And boy, do these two games take that lesson to heart. In Sekiro, you don't just die once and get a game over screen. No, that would be too kind. Instead, you die twice, hence the title. After each death, you can resurrect on the spot, like a supernatural get-out-of-jail-free card that doesn't really get you out of anything because the boss is still there, and still very angry. Resurrecting offers a false sense of hope, much like when your alarm rings at 7 AM, and you hit snooze thinking you've bought yourself more time before the inevitable. Wukong, in true Monkey King fashion, seems to have its own version of resurrection, except it's far more magical and mischievous. You see, Sun Wukong has a talent for playing dead. Imagine fighting a boss, getting smashed into the ground, and as they walk away, surprise, you weren't dead at all. Psych. You've pulled a fast one, and now it's your turn to strike back while they are distracted. It's the ultimate just kidding moment in video games. In both games, death is never really the end, it's more like hitting pause on your suffering, then resuming it shortly after, with slightly more bitterness but slightly better reflexes. Boss battles, the art of being humiliated by giants. The hallmark of any good action-adventure game is its boss battles, and here, both Sekiro and Wukong shine, and by shine, I mean cause intense bouts of rage followed by sweet, sweet victory. Boss fights in Sekiro are known for their intensity, requiring players to observe, learn, and adapt to their enemies' moves, all while trying not to wet themselves as a 10-foot-tall monster swings a giant sword at their head. From the guardian ape, who, fun fact, is more unsettling post-decapitation, to the great shinobi owl, every boss feels like its own puzzle, a giant, murderous puzzle that sometimes feels impossible to solve until you do, after about 50 tries. Wukong, on the other hand, takes this intensity and multiplies it with sheer spectacle. Sun Wukong is no ordinary hero, he's up against monsters and gods, and these bosses don't mess around. There's something delightfully horrifying about going toe-to-toe with creatures pulled straight from Chinese mythology, all of whom seem to have read the same How to Destroy Players in 5 Easy Steps manual that Sekiro's bosses did. Whether you're battling a fire-breathing dragon or a gigantic wolf with horns, because why not, the stakes feel massive, and the learning curve is steep. But hey, at least you can turn into a bug, or a rock. That counts for something, right? Stealth ninja. By any other name, Sekiro made stealth gameplay a central feature. Sure, you could run in swords blazing, but most of the time, you'd end up 6 feet under. Instead, you slink around rooftops, eavesdrop on enemies, and stab unsuspecting foes in the back, all while feeling like the ultimate ninja. It's a game that rewards patience, careful planning, and sometimes outright cowardice. Because let's face it, sneaking up on someone and eliminating them without breaking a sweat is deeply satisfying. In Wukong, stealth exists, but let's be real, when you're a legendary monkey with supernatural powers, subtlety isn't always on the menu. Sure, you can trick enemies, maybe sneak around them for a bit, but the real fun begins when you show off your godlike powers and beat the snot out of everything in your path. Wukong is more about playful cunning than serious stealth. It's less silent assassin and more ha-ha, fooled you, now watch as I turn into a swarm of bees and wreck your day. Protagonist personality, the silent shinobi versus the Monkey King. Here's where things take a sharp turn. Sekiro's protagonist, the wolf, is stoic, silent, and brooding. He's the kind of guy who's probably been through several years of therapy, yet still prefers to bottle up his feelings and stab his problems in the face. The story focuses on redemption, honor, and revenge, deep, meaningful themes that weigh heavily on our sword-wielding hero's shoulders. Sun Wukong, however, is the polar opposite. He's mischievous, confident, and occasionally arrogant. As the Monkey King, Wukong brings a playful spirit to the otherwise grim nature of the game. He's less concerned with redemption and more interested in showing off his skills, causing a bit of chaos, and proving that he's the smartest guy, or monkey, in the room. If Sekiro is the silent action hero who says, "I have to do this," then Wukong is the guy who grins and says, "Watch this," before turning into a cloud and doing backflips.